You know that moment, just after everything quiets down, your heart's still humming, your skin is warm. The world outside disappears, and then most women do the one thing that undoes everything. They roll away, they reach for their phone, they pull the sheet up like armor, or worse, they pretend it never happened, and in that split second, the magic evaporates. Because here's what no one tells you: what you do in the minutes after intimacy matters more than what you did during it. Men don't remember every touch. They don't replay every word. But they never forget how you made them feel in that quiet, vulnerable space when the masks are off and it's just the two of you, raw and real. The women he can't stop thinking about, they don't rush, they don't hide, they linger, not to perform, not to please, but to claim the moment as theirs too. A soft glance, a hand resting gently on his chest, a whisper so quiet it feels like a secret just for him. That was beautiful. That's it. No grand gesture, no script, just presence. And yet 90% of women skip it. Why? Because we were never taught that after is sacred. We were taught to give, but not to stay, to be desired, but not to own the space we create. But the truth, the real intimacy doesn't happen during, it happens after. That's when his nervous system decides, this is safe, this is home, this is the woman I crave, not just her body, but her presence. And if you leave too soon, you accidentally send a message. That was just physical. Don't get too close. But if you stay, even for 60 seconds longer, you tell him something far more powerful. I'm not afraid of this closeness. I'm here with you and with myself. And that's what makes you unforgettable. So if you've ever wondered why some women seem to leave a lasting mark, it's not about what they do in the heat of the moment. It's what they do when the heat fades and the real connection begins. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll show you the 4 quiet minutes that change everything and how to move through them with the kind of calm confidence that lingers in his mind long after you've walked away. The moment everyone misses, that quiet second after you've been there. The room is still warm, your breath is slowly returning to normal. Your skin hums with that soft, tender afterglow, the kind that makes time feel like it's suspended. For a heartbeat, everything is quiet. Just you, him, and the space between you, charged with something wordless and deep. And then it happens, almost without thinking. You move. Maybe you roll onto your side, pulling the sheet just a little higher. Maybe you reach for your phone, pretending you're checking the time, but really you're looking for an escape hatch. Or maybe you slip out of bed entirely, muttering something about water or the bathroom, just to put distance between the two of you before the silence becomes awkward. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. You're not alone. In fact, most women do this, not because they're cold or unfeeling, but because that quiet second after intimacy is one of the most vulnerable moments a woman can experience. Think about it. In that stillness, there's no performance left to hide behind, no rhythm to follow, no role to play. It's just you, exposed, open, and real. And if you've ever been judged, rejected, or made to feel too much or not enough in your body or your desires, your nervous system remembers. It whispers, get small, disappear. Don't let him see you like this. So you protect yourself. You retreat, not out of disinterest, but out of self-preservation. But here's what that instinct costs you. In pulling away, you accidentally send a message you never meant to send. That was just physical. This isn't safe. I don't want you to see the real me. And he feels it, not in words, but in energy, in the sudden shift from closeness to distance, from warmth to withdrawal. The irony, the very thing you're trying to avoid, rejection or judgment, is often triggered by the act of leaving too soon. Because what he craves in that moment isn't more passion, it's presence. He wants to know that you're not just with him in the heat of it, but in the calm after too. This isn't about staying to keep him. It's about giving yourself permission to exist fully in your own intimacy, without shame, without rush, without apology. Because that quiet second after, it's not an ending, it's the beginning of something deeper. And the women who understand this, they don't just share intimacy, they create connection that lingers. So if you've ever slipped away in that moment, be gentle with yourself. You were doing your best with what you knew. But now you know there's another way. Why what happens after matters more than you think. Let's talk about something most intimacy advice completely ignores. The minutes after are more powerful than the moments during. Yes, really. While society obsesses over technique, timing, and performance, it overlooks the single most potent window for emotional bonding, the quiet aftermath. This isn't just poetic, it's science. When two people share deep physical closeness, Their bodies release a cascade of neurochemicals, oxytocin, or bonding hormone, dopamine, the reward chemical, and vasopressin, which drives long-term attachment. But here's the key: these chemicals peak after intimacy, not during. In those first few minutes of stillness, his brain is in a highly receptive state. His nervous system is asking one silent question: is this safe? Is she with me? And your behavior in that window, whether you stay present or pull away, answers that question for him. Not with words, with energy. If you linger, if you let your hand rest on his chest, if you meet his eyes with softness, if you simply breathe beside him without rushing to fix the silence, you signal safety. You tell his subconscious, you can relax. You're seen. You belong here with me. And that's what imprints. Men may not remember every detail of what happened, but they never forget how they felt in the quiet that followed. Was it warm? Was it safe? Did she disappear or did she stay? This is why some women become unforgettable, not because they were better in bed, but because they understood the secret language of after. Think of it like this: intimacy is the spark, but the moments after, that's where the fire either catches or fades. When you rush away, you unintentionally teach him that closeness is fleeting, that the real connection ends when the physical act does. But when you stay even just for a minute, you expand the experience into something emotional, sacred, and deeply human. And here's the beautiful part: this isn't about manipulating his feelings, it's about honoring your own. Because when you choose to stay present, you're not just giving him a gift, you're claiming your right to exist fully in your own sensuality. You're saying, I don't need to hide. I belong here, in this moment, in this body, in this connection. That quiet confidence. It's magnetic. Not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. So the next time that stillness comes, don't run from it. Lean into it. Because what happens after intimacy doesn't just reflect the moment, it shapes everything that comes next. The secret most women overlook and why it's not their fault. Here's something no one ever told you. You were never taught how to be after intimacy. You were only taught how to do. From movies to magazines, from whispered advice to cultural silence, women are trained to focus on one thing: performance. Are you pleasing him? Are you doing it right? Are you attractive enough, skilled enough, quiet enough, or loud enough? But no one ever said, stay a little longer. Let yourself be seen in the quiet. Your presence after is just as powerful as your touch during. Why? Because for generations, women's role in intimacy was reduced to service, not sovereignty. We were taught to give, to accommodate, to disappear afterward so the man could return to his world unburdened. Modesty wasn't just about clothing. It was about shrinking your energy, your voice, your right to occupy space after the act was done. Even today, if you grew up in a home where sex was never discussed or where female desire was shrouded in shame, you likely internalized a simple rule: get it over with, then get back to normal. So of course you reach for your phone. Of course you pull the sheet up. Of course you slip away before the silence feels too real. It's not because you're cold. It's because you were never shown another way. And that's not your fault. The truth is, there's an unseen ritual that happens in the best relationships, the kind that feel deeply connected, emotionally safe, and magnetically intimate. It's not taught in books. It's not shown in media, but it's practiced by the women who understand that intimacy isn't just a physical exchange. It's an emotional offering. This ritual has no script, no rules, just presence. A hand that doesn't pull away, eyes that don't look down, a breath that stays slow even when the moment feels vulnerable. It's the quiet art of lingering, not to perform, but to witness, to say with words, I was here with you, and I'm still here. And the beautiful part, you don't need to be perfect at it. You just need to be willing. Because now that you know this secret, that the after is sacred, you can begin to rewrite the story, not as the woman who disappears, but as the woman who stays. Not out of obligation, but out of choice, out of confidence, out of love for him and for yourself. You weren't taught this, but you're learning it now. And that changes everything. The women who stay and why men never forget them. Let's talk about the women men never stop thinking about. Not the ones with the most experience, not the ones who said or did the right things, but the ones who did something far more rare. They stayed, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. While others rolled away or filled the silence with chatter, these women understood the power of stillness. They let the moment breathe. They allowed the vulnerability to exist without fixing it, without running from it, without making it small. And in doing so, they imprinted something unforgettable. Because here's what men rarely admit after intimacy. They feel exposed to, not just physically, but emotionally. In that raw, quiet space, they wonder, did I matter to her? Was this just physical, or was it something more? And when a woman stays, when she meets his eyes with softness, when her hand rests gently on his skin, when she whispers something true like, I love being close to you, she answers that question in the most powerful way possible. She tells him, you mattered. This mattered. I'm not going anywhere. That's not manipulation. That's emotional generosity. And it's devastatingly rare. Most women focus so hard on being good during that they miss the chance to be memorable after. But the truth is, he'll forget the details of what you did. He won't forget how you made him feel when it was over. Did he feel used, or cherished, dismissed, or deeply seen? The women who become legendary in a man's mind aren't the ones who performed the best. They're the ones who made him feel safest in the silence. And that safety doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from a single quiet choice to stay present when it would be easier to leave. This is where ordinary intimacy becomes extraordinary, not in the heat, but in the calm that follows. Not in the doing, but in the being. So if you've ever wanted to be the woman he compares everyone to, start here, in the quiet second after, when the world is still and it's just the two of you, raw, real, and human. Because that's not just the end of intimacy. That's where true connection begins. And the women who understand that, they don't just share a moment. They leave a mark. The 4 sacred minutes, minute 1, the stillness that speaks louder than words right after intimacy. There's a choice you make, often without even realizing it. It happens in less than a breath. A micro decision that shapes everything that follows. Do you move away or do you stay? For most women, the instinct is to do something. Adjust the pillow. Check the time. Ask if he's okay. Say something, anything, to fill the quiet before it becomes awkward. But what if the quiet isn't awkward at all? What if it's sacred? This is minute 1, the first of the 4 sacred minutes, and its only requirement is this: don't move. Not because you're supposed to be perfect, not because you owe him anything, but because in this stillness, something profound happens. You give both of you permission to just be. Think about it. In a world that rewards speed, productivity, and constant motion, stillness is radical, especially after something as vulnerable as intimacy. To simply lie there, skin warm, breath soft, heart open, is to say, without words, I'm not running, I'm here with you. And this moment matters. And that message, it lands deeper than any compliment, any touch, any whispered phrase, because stillness isn't empty. It's full of presence. When you stay, your body begins to sync with his. Your breath slows to match his rhythm. Your nervous system start to harmonize. This isn't poetic, it's physiological. In that quiet alignment, his brain receives a signal more powerful than words. You're safe, you're wanted, you belong here. And for a man, especially one who's been conditioned to lead, perform, or protect, this kind of soft, unwavering presence from a woman can feel like coming home. But here's what most women miss: stillness isn't passive, it's an act of courage. Because to stay still is to stay open. To stay open is to stay vulnerable. And vulnerability, as we've been taught, is risky. You might worry, what if he thinks I'm expecting something? What if the silence feels heavy? What if I'm not doing enough? But here's the truth. You are enough just by being there. You don't need to say the right thing. You don't need to look a certain way. You don't need to keep the mood alive. The mood is alive in the rise and fall of your chest, in the warmth of your skin against his, in the quiet trust of two people who don't need to fill the space with noise to feel connected. This is where intimacy deepens, not through more doing, but through more being. So in minute 1, your only job is this: stay, breathe, let your body relax into the moment, not as a performer, but as a participant. Feel the weight of your own presence. Honor the fact that you showed up, not just physically, but emotionally. And trust that your stillness is a gift, one he'll feel in his bones, even if he can't name it. Because in a world full of women who rush away, the one who stays, even for just 1 quiet minute, becomes unforgettable. And the beautiful part, you don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to be willing. So next time when that stillness comes, resist the urge to fix it. Lean into it. Let it hold you both. Because in that silence, something real is born. And it starts with you choosing to stay. Minute 2, the glance that anchors him to you. Now that you've stayed through minute 1, breathing, present, still, it's time for the next quiet act of connection. Look at him, not a quick glance, not a shy downward flick of the eyes, but a soft, lingering look, one that meets his gaze and holds it just for a heartbeat longer than usual. This is minute 2. And in this single glance, you do something extraordinary. You see him, not just his body, not just his role, but the man beneath it all. Most women avoid eye contact after intimacy, maybe out of shyness, maybe because it feels too intimate, maybe because they're afraid of what he'll see in their own eyes, desire, vulnerability, need. But here's what you might not realize. Eye contact after intimacy isn't exposure, it's invitation. When you look at him softly in that quiet moment, you're not just seeing him, you're telling him, I'm not hiding, I was here with you, and I see you too. And for a man, that look can be more powerful than any touch. Because in our culture, men are rarely seen for who they truly are. They're expected to be strong, in control, unshackable. But in the aftermath of intimacy, the mask slips. He's raw, open, human. And if in that moment you meet his eyes with warmth, not judgment, not expectation, just quiet recognition, he feels something rare, he feels known, not for what he did, but for who he is. This isn't about seduction, it's about soul-level acknowledgement. And neuroscience backs this up. Sustained eye contact, even for just 3 to 5 seconds, triggers a surge of oxytocin in both partners. It deepens bonding, it builds trust. It says, without words, I'm with you, not just in body, but in spirit. But here's the key, your gaze must be soft, not searching, not demanding, not performing, just present. Imagine looking at him the way you'd look at someone you deeply care about after they've shared something vulnerable, not with intensity, but with tenderness. You don't need to say a word. In fact, silence makes the glance even more potent, because in that look, you're communicating something words often fail to capture. This wasn't just physical, this was us. And I'm glad it was you. And that message, it echoes in his mind long after you've looked away. Now, if eye contact feels uncomfortable at first, start small. Just let your eyes rest on his face for a few seconds longer than usual. Notice the shape of his brow, the way his breath moves his chest, the quiet humanity in his expression. You're not studying him, you're honoring him. And in doing so, you anchor him not just to the moment, but to you. Because men forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel when you looked at them like they mattered. So in minute 2, don't look away, look deeper. Let your eyes say what your heart already knows. I was here, I saw you, and I'm not going anywhere. That's not just intimacy, that's legacy. Minute 3, the whisper that lingers in his mind. By now, you've stayed still. You've met his eyes. The space between you is no longer empty. It's alive with quiet understanding. And now in minute 3, you have a choice to say something, but not just anything, not a performance, not a script, not a rehearsed line meant to impress, just a few true words, soft, simple, and spoken from the heart. Because here's what most women get wrong. They think they need to say something profound, poetic, or seductive to seal the moment. But the truth, the most powerful words are the simplest ones. A whisper like, that was beautiful. I love being close to you. Thank you for that. That's it. No grand declaration, no over-explaining, just a quiet offering of truth. And yet those few words can echo in his mind for days. Why? Because after intimacy, a man's emotional guard is lower than usual. He's not just hearing your words, he's feeling them. And when you speak softly, sincerely, without agenda, you bypass his logic and land straight in his heart. This isn't about flattery, it's about acknowledgement. You're not praising his performance. You're honoring the connection you just shared. Think of it like this: intimacy is a language of the body, but your whisper, that's the language of the soul. And when the two come together, touch followed by truth, it creates a memory that sticks. Now, if you're someone who overthinks what to say, here's your permission slip. You don't need to be eloquent. You just need to be real. He doesn't need a monologue. He needs to know it mattered to you. Because deep down, every man wonders, was I just a body to her? Or was this something more? Your whisper answers that question. And the softer you speak, the louder it lands. There's something deeply intimate about a whisper. It pulls him in, not just physically, but emotionally. It says, this is just for you. No one else gets to hear this. That's why it lingers. But be careful, don't say something you don't mean. Don't force words to fill silence. If nothing comes, it's okay to stay quiet. Presence alone is enough. But if a phrase rises in your chest, if you genuinely feel warmth, gratitude, or closeness, let it out. Just lean in close to his ear and let your voice be as soft as your touch. And remember, it's not about the words themselves. It's about the energy behind them. A rushed, that was great, feels like closure. but a slow, heartfelt "I loved being with you" feels like an invitation to stay connected, even after the moment ends. This is how you turn a physical experience into an emotional anchor. So in minute 3, don't search for the perfect line. Just speak your truth, however small it seems, because the right whisper doesn't just describe the moment, it extends it. And the man who hears it, he'll carry it with him long after you've gone quiet. Minute 4, the exit that leaves him wanting more. Now comes the final sacred minute, the one most women rush through or get wrong entirely. Minute 4, the exit. This isn't about leaving the room, it's about how you close the moment with grace, warmth, and quiet confidence. Because how you step away from intimacy shapes how he remembers it and how much he craves the next time. Too often, women either disappear without a word, leaving him wondering if he did something wrong, over-explain, "Sorry if that was weird," or cling too tightly, trying to keep the feeling alive. But there's a third way, the graceful exit. It starts with one gentle gesture, a hand resting on his chest for just a few seconds longer, a soft smile as you sit up, a whispered "I'll be right back," said with calm certainty, not apology. This isn't coldness, it's confident closure. You're not rejecting him, you're honoring the moment by not dragging it out or diluting it with neediness. Think of it like the final note of a song. If it fades too abruptly, it feels jarring. If it lingers too long, it loses its magic. But if it lands just right, it leaves you wanting to hear it again. That's the power of a graceful exit. When you rise with quiet ease, no rush, no drama, no over-apologizing, you send a subtle but powerful message. This was beautiful. I'm not afraid of it. And I trust it will happen again. And that trust, it's intoxicating. Because neediness says, "I'm afraid you'll leave." But quiet confidence says, "I know you'll come back." So how do you do it? Start by moving slowly. Let your body carry the calm you've cultivated in the first 3 minutes. As you sit up, place a hand on his shoulder or arm, not to hold on, but to say goodbye with warmth. If you speak, keep it light and grounded. "I'm going to freshen up. Be right back." That was so good. "I'll make us some tea." No over-explaining, no self-doubt, just ease. And most importantly, don't look back with worry. Walk away like someone who knows her worth, like someone who doesn't need to chase connection because she trusts it's already there. This isn't about playing games, it's about embodying the truth. You are not dependent on his reaction to feel whole. You shared something real and now you return to yourself calm and complete. And that energy, it makes him want to follow you. Not because you pulled him, but because you radiated peace. Men are drawn to women who don't collapse after intimacy, who don't become smaller, needier, or disappear. They're drawn to women who expand, who hold their center, even in vulnerability. So in minute 4, don't rush, don't shrink, don't overthink. Just close the moment with the same presence you brought to it. Because the way you leave tells him everything about how you'll return. And if you leave with grace, he'll spend the next hour or the next day remembering how it felt to be with a woman who knew exactly who she was, even in the quiet after. The shame reflects why we pull away. Let's talk honestly about why you pull away. Not because you don't care, not because you're cold, but because in that quiet moment after intimacy, something inside you flinches. Maybe it's the way your body looks in the dim light. Maybe it's a voice in your head whispering, "Was I too much? Not enough?" Maybe it's old memory, a time you were judged, rejected, or made to feel less than for wanting, for feeling, for simply being. Whatever it is, your body remembers. And so without thinking, you cover up, you turn away, you reach for your phone like a shield. You do whatever it takes to shrink the exposure, to make yourself small again, safe again. This isn't weakness, it's protection. For many women, intimacy doesn't just open the body, it opens old wounds. If you grew up in a home where female desire was shamed, where your body was policed, or where closeness was followed by abandonment, your nervous system learned a simple rule: vulnerability, danger. So of course you retreat. Your body isn't betraying you, it's trying to keep you safe. And yet, every time you pull away, a part of you grieves because deep down you want to stay. You want to feel that warm, wordless connection without fear. You want to be seen, not just in your strength, but in your softness. But shame makes that feel impossible. Shame says you're not worthy of being held in your fullness. It tells you that your body is flawed, your desire is messy, your need for closeness is too much. And so you hide, not from him, but from the risk of being truly known. Here's what I want you to hear: your instinct to protect yourself is valid. You did what you needed to survive. But now, you're not just surviving, you're ready to thrive. And thriving begins with compassion, not for the man in the bed, but for the woman who's been carrying this weight alone. So the next time you feel that urge to disappear, pause, place a hand on your heart and whisper, "It's okay. You're safe now." Because healing doesn't start with forcing yourself to stay. It starts with understanding why you left. And once you see that your retreat was never about him, it was about your own unmet need for safety, you can begin to rewrite the story. Not with pressure, not with shame, but with tenderness, because the woman who pulls away isn't broken. She's been guarding her light. And now she's learning how to let it shine, even in the quiet after. Rewiring your response from fear to feminine confidence. Now that you understand why you pull away, let's talk about how to gently shift, not through force, but through a quiet reframe. Because the moment after intimacy doesn't have to be a test. It can be a gift. The key, change the question you ask yourself. Instead of, was I enough? Try, I gave him a gift and I'm worthy of receiving one too. That's it, one sentence. But it changes everything. Because was I enough? Because a question rooted in fear, it assumes you're being judged. It puts you in the role of performer, constantly measuring yourself against an invisible standard. But I gave him a gift flips the script. It centers your generosity, your presence, your courage to show up. I'm worthy of receiving one too. Reminds you that intimacy is an exchange, not a transaction, not a performance, but a mutual offering of trust. This isn't just positive thinking, it's neurological rewiring. Every time you repeat this reframe, you weaken the shame pathway and strengthen a new one. The path of feminine confidence. Feminine confidence isn't loud, it doesn't demand attention. It simply occupies space calmly, fully, without apology. And it starts in the quiet moments. So after intimacy, instead of scanning his face for approval, turn your attention inward. Feel your own breath. Notice the warmth in your skin. Acknowledge your own bravery. I let myself be close. That took courage. This internal shift is subtle but powerful, because when you stop seeking validation, you become a source of it. And that energy, it radiates. He may not know why, but he'll feel different around you, lighter, safer, more drawn to you, not because you did anything more, but because you stopped doing something less shrinking. You don't need to announce this shift. You don't need to explain it. Just let it live in your bones. And if the old fear rises, what if he didn't like it? Gently replace it. I like being with him. That's enough, because your worth isn't decided in his silence. It's affirmed in your presence. So practice this reframe like a mantra. I gave a gift. I am worthy. I belong here. Say it before you move. Say it as you breathe. Say it until your body believes it. Because confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to stay even when fear whispers. And every time you choose that, you become a little more the woman you've always been beneath the armor, soft, strong, and unafraid to linger. Your first practice, start small. Stay present. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need to stay for all 4 sacred minutes right away. In fact, the most powerful change begins with just 30 seconds longer than usual. That's your first practice, not perfection, just presence. Next time intimacy ends, instead of immediately rolling away or reaching for your phone, pause. Just for half a minute. Breathe. Feel the weight of your own body on the sheets. Notice the warmth between you. That's it. No eye contact required, no whisper needed. Just stay long enough to prove to yourself, I can be here. I don't have to run. This tiny act is revolutionary, because healing isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in micro moments of courage. Maybe the first time your heart races, maybe your mind screams, this is awkward. That's okay. Stay anyway. And when the 30 seconds pass, gently honor yourself. I did it. I stayed. Then next time, 45 seconds, then a full minute. Add a soft glance, then a hand resting on his chest, then a whisper if it feels true, but never force it. That this isn't a performance, it's a homecoming, and your body will tell you when it's ready. If you're rebuilding intimacy after loss, divorce, or a long dry spell, go even slower. Maybe your first practice is simply not leaving the room right away. Sit on the edge of the bed. Take 3 deep breaths. Let yourself exist in the aftermath without judgment. This is how confidence grows, not in leaps, but in whispers. And remember, you're not doing this for him. You're doing it for you. Because every time you choose to stay, you reclaim a piece of yourself you've been giving away in fear. You prove that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's your birthright. So start small, be patient, celebrate the tiniest wins, because the woman who learns to stay for 30 seconds today is the woman who lingers with quiet power tomorrow. And that's not just intimacy, that's freedom. What if he's not responsive? Sim, Your power doesn't depend on him. What if you stay and he doesn't seem to notice? What if you offer a soft glance, a gentle whisper, and he just rolls over or changes the subject? Here's the truth you need to hear. Your power doesn't depend on his reaction. This practice isn't about controlling how he feels. It's about honoring how you feel. Too often, women tie their worth to his response. If he doesn't melt, I must have done it wrong. If he doesn't say something back, it didn't matter. But that's giving your power away. The sacred minutes aren't a strategy to make him obsessed. They're a ritual of self-respect. When you linger, you're not performing for his approval. You're affirming your own right to exist fully in your intimacy, regardless of whether he gets it or not. And sometimes he won't, not right away. Maybe he's never been on the receiving end of this kind of presence. Maybe he's uncomfortable with vulnerability. Maybe he's distracted, tired, or emotionally unavailable. But that doesn't mean your presence was wasted, because even if he doesn't respond outwardly, your energy still lands. Deep in his subconscious, he registers, she stayed, she saw me, she wasn't afraid, and that seed takes root, even if it doesn't bloom today. But more importantly, you're building your own magnetism. Every time you choose to stay instead of shrink, you strengthen your inner core. You prove to yourself that you can be vulnerable and whole, that you can give and receive, that you belong in your own skin, no matter how he reacts. That's the real win. So if he seems distant, don't take it personally. Don't retreat into shame. Instead, gently return to yourself. Place a hand on your heart and say, I showed up. That's enough. Because your worth isn't measured by his response. It's confirmed by your courage. And over time, something beautiful happens. As you stop seeking his validation, you become more magnetic. Not because you're trying to attract him, but because you're finally at home in yourself. So keep practicing, even if it feels one-sided, especially if it feels one-sided, because the woman who stays regardless of his reaction is the woman who can never be abandoned. She's already whole, and that's the most unforgettable thing of all. The ripple effect, how this changes everything. He starts craving you, not just the act. Let's talk about what happens when you consistently linger in those sacred minutes after intimacy. It's not just a sweet gesture. It's a quiet revolution in how he experiences you and himself. Because when you stay present with warmth, softness, and calm confidence, something shifts deep in his nervous system. He stops associating intimacy with just physical release. Instead, he begins to link you, your presence, your energy, your stillness, with something far more powerful, emotional safety. And that changes everything. Men are often taught to see intimacy as a goal to achieve, a need to fulfill. But when you offer presence after, when you meet his eyes, whisper something true, or simply breathe beside him without rushing away, you reframe the entire experience. You turn a moment of pleasure into a moment of connection. And his brain takes note. Neuroscience shows that when emotional safety is paired with physical closeness, the brain begins to form a powerful association, this woman to home. Not just a body to desire, but a person to return to. That's why he starts craving you. Not just the act, he may not say it out loud, but he'll begin seeking you out. Not just for sex, but for closeness. He'll initiate more non-sexual touch. He'll linger in conversation. He'll look for your eyes across the room. Because somewhere inside he's learned, with her, I can be soft. With her, I'm not just wanted, I'm known. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional imprinting. And it happens not through grand declarations, but through the quiet consistency of your presence. Think about it. If every time you're intimate, you disappear afterward, he learns that closeness ends when the physical does. But if you stay, even just for a few minutes, he learns that intimacy is a bridge, not a destination. And that bridge leads to deeper trust, more frequent connection, and a bond that doesn't rely on performance. You might notice subtle changes. He holds you longer after sex. He asks how you felt, not just whether he pleased you. He seems more relaxed, more open, more emotionally available in daily life. Why? Because you've shown him that vulnerability doesn't lead to rejection. It leads to warmth. And once a man experiences that with a woman, he doesn't forget it. So if you've ever felt like you're just a means to an end, this is your turning point. You're not changing who you are. You're revealing a dimension of yourself he never knew was possible. And in doing so, you transform not just your intimacy, but his entire experience of you. Because the woman who stays after the storm, she becomes the calm he longs for, not just in bed, but in life. And that's when he stops chasing pleasure and starts coming home to you. Your confidence grows because you're no longer hiding. Now let's talk about what this practice does for you, because the real magic isn't just in how he sees you. It's in how you begin to see yourself. Every time you choose to stay present instead of retreating, you send a powerful message to your own nervous system. I belong here. I am enough. I don't need to hide to be loved. And that message, it rewires your self-worth from the inside out. For so long, you may have believed that your value in intimacy came from how well you performed, how you looked, how you moved, how much you pleased him. But the sacred minutes flip that script entirely. Your value now comes from your presence, not your performance. And presence can't be faked. It can only be claimed. So when you linger, when you let your breath slow, when you meet his eyes without flinching, when you whisper something true, you're not just connecting with him. You're reconnecting with yourself. You're proving again and again that you can be vulnerable and whole, exposed and safe, desiring and dignified. That's where true confidence is born, not in perfection, but in permission. And as this practice becomes habit, you'll notice something surprising. Your confidence starts spilling into other areas of your life. You speak up more at work. You set boundaries with ease. You stop over apologizing for taking up space. You walk into a room like you belong there because you've practiced belonging in the most intimate space of all your own skin. This isn't coincidence. It's embodied self-trust, because intimacy is a mirror. How you show up there reflects how you show up everywhere. When you hide after closeness, you reinforce the belief, I'm only acceptable when I'm giving. When I'm still, I'm too much. But when you stay, you affirm, I am worthy of being seen exactly as I am. And that quiet certainty becomes your superpower. You stop seeking validation because you've already given it to yourself. You stop shrinking because you've practiced expanding. You stop fearing judgment because you've learned, even in my softest moment, I am enough. This is the hidden gift of the sacred minutes. They don't just deepen your relationship, they deepen your relationship with you. And the woman who learns to stay with herself in vulnerability is the woman who can never be shaken by the outside world. So keep practicing, not for him, but for the version of you who's finally coming home, because confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build one quiet, courageous moment at a time. And you're building it now. The relationship deepens without you trying. One of the most beautiful things about the sacred minutes. You don't have to work on your relationship to see it transform. No grand gestures, no scheduled date nights to fix emotional distance. No exhausting conversations about feeling disconnected. Just 4 quiet minutes repeated with consistency create a private language between you and him. A rhythm of closeness that builds more trust than weeks of talking ever could, because intimacy isn't just about sex, it's about shared vulnerability. And the moments after are where that vulnerability becomes safety. Think of it like this: during intimacy, you're speaking the language of touch. But in the sacred minutes, you're speaking the language of being. And that language builds a bridge. Over time, these small rituals become your couple's secret code. The way you rest your hand on his chest, the soft look you give him before you get up, the whisper that only he hears. These aren't just actions, they're anchors. And they create a feedback loop of emotional safety. The more you stay, the safer he feels. The safer he feels, the more he opens. The more he opens, the deeper your connection grows. And the best part, it feels effortless. You're not trying to connect. You're simply being connected. This is especially powerful in long-term relationships where routine can dull the spark. You don't need to reignite passion with exotic trips or dramatic surprises. You just need to return to the quiet after together. Because in long-term love, it's not the big moments that sustain you. It's the small, consistent ones. The man who feels emotionally held after intimacy is the man who brings that warmth into the kitchen the next morning, who listens more patiently, who reaches for your hand without thinking. Why? Because you've shown him that closeness doesn't end when the sheets stop moving. It continues in silence, in breath, in presence. And that continuity is what turns a relationship from transactional to transcendent. So if you've been feeling distant, disconnected, or like roommates instead of lovers, start here. Not with a conversation, not with a demand, but with a choice to stay just a little longer. Because the deepest bonds aren't built in grand declarations, that they're woven in the quiet threads of after. And those threads, they hold a relationship together long after the passion fades. and long before it returns. You become the woman he compares everyone to. Let's end this chapter with the truth every woman deserves to hear. You have the power to become unforgettable. Not because you're the most beautiful, the most experienced, or the most skilled, but because you understand something rare. The magic isn't in the climax, it's in the calm that follows. Men forget details, they forget positions, words, even dates. But they never forget how a woman made them feel in the quiet seconds after intimacy. Did she disappear, or did she stay? Did she make him feel used or deeply seen? The woman who lingers softly, confidently, without agenda, imprints on his memory in a way no one else can, because she offered him something most never do, the gift of being fully known. And once he's tasted that, he can't untaste it. So when he meets other women, whether in fantasy, in flirtation, or in real life, he compares them not to your body, but to your presence. Does she stay after? Does she look at me like I matter? Does she make me feel safe or just satisfied? And almost always they fall short. Not because they're lacking, but because what you offer isn't a technique. It's a state of being. You become the standard, not by trying to be better than others, but by refusing to abandon yourself in the moment that matters most. This isn't about control, it's about legacy, because years from now, even if your paths diverge, he'll remember, there was this one woman after we were close. She didn't leave, she stayed. And in that stillness, I felt like I belonged. And that memory, it haunts him in the best way. It's why men return to certain women long after relationships end, not for sex, but for that feeling of being truly held. So if you've ever wanted to be irreplaceable, this is your path. Not through manipulation, not through perfection, but through presence. The woman who stays after intimacy doesn't just share a moment. She leaves a mark on his soul. And that mark becomes the quiet benchmark for every woman who comes after. So don't underestimate the power of those 4 minutes. They don't just change a night, they change a lifetime, because the woman who knows how to linger in the quiet, she doesn't just win his desire. She wins his memory. And in the end, that's the most powerful kind of love there is. Your invitation to stay, this isn't about him. It's about you owning your space before we close. I need you to hear this one last truth. Perhaps the most important of all this practice isn't about him. It's about you. You're not lingering after intimacy to keep him, to make him obsessed, or to earn his love. You're doing it because you deserve to exist fully in your own intimacy, unapologetic, present, and whole. For so long, women have been taught that their role in closeness is to give, please, and disappear. But what if your real power lies not in what you offer to him, but in what you reclaim for yourself? When you stay, you're not performing. You're occupying your space. You're saying, without words, this moment belongs to me too. My presence matters. My vulnerability is not weakness, it's my birthright. And that shift changes everything. Because the moment you stop seeing intimacy as something you do for him and start seeing it as something you share as yourself, you step into your sovereignty. You're no longer waiting for his reaction to tell you if you were enough. You're already enough, before, during, and after. This is his feminine power at its purest. Not loud, not demanding, but deeply rooted in self-respect. So the next time you're tempted to slip away, ask yourself, am I leaving because I'm uncomfortable or because I've forgotten my right to stay? And then choose differently. Not for him. For the woman you're becoming, the one who knows she belongs in every room, in every moment, in her own skin. Because when you own your space after intimacy, you're not just changing a relationship, you're healing a lineage. You're breaking the cycle of women who gave their bodies but hid their souls. You're showing the next generation that closeness doesn't require disappearance. So stay not to win him, but to honor you, because you are not a guest in your own intimacy. You are its source, and you deserve to linger in its warmth, just as you are. A gentle practice for your next moment of closeness. Now, let's make this real. No theory, no pressure, just a simple, gentle invitation for your next moment of closeness. Here's your practice, just 4 small choices. Stay. When everything quiets down, don't move right away. Let yourself rest for just 30 seconds longer than usual. Feel your breath, feel your skin, feel the weight of your own presence. Breathe, let your breath slow. Match his rhythm or just let yours deepen. This isn't performance, it's permission to be exactly where you are. Look, turn your head. Meet his eyes, not with intensity, but with softness. Let your gaze say, I was here with you, and I see you. Touch us, speak just once. Place your hand gently on his chest for 10 seconds, or whisper one true thing, that was beautiful, or I love being close to you. Thank you. That's it. No script, No perfection, just presence. If it feels awkward the first time, that's okay. Awkwardness means you're growing. If tears come, let them. That's your heart remembering it's safe. If nothing comes to mind, stay silent. Your stillness is enough. This isn't about getting it right. It's about showing up as you are. And remember, you can start small, 1 minute, one glance, one breath, build from there. Because transformation doesn't happen in grand leaps. It happens in quiet returns to your body, your breath, your truth. So next time, instead of reaching for your phone, reach for yourself. Instead of covering up, open up just a little. Because the most powerful thing you can offer isn't your body. It's your unfiltered presence. And that begins with one choice to stay. You're already enough. This just helps you remember before you go. I want to leave you with this. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of deep, connected intimacy. You don't need flawless skin. You don't need years of experience. You don't need to say the right thing or move in the right way. You just need to show up as you are, because real magnetism doesn't come from performance. It comes from authenticity. The woman who stumbles over her words but stays present, she's more captivating than the one who performs flawlessly but disappears after. The woman who feels nervous but chooses to breathe through it, she's building courage that radiates far beyond the bedroom. The woman who whispers something simple and means it, she leaves a mark no rehearsed line ever could. So if you've been holding back because you think you're not ready, hear this: you are ready. Not when you lose 10 pounds, not when your relationship is perfect, not when you feel 100% confident. You're ready now, exactly as you are. This practice isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you already are, a woman who is whole, worthy, deserving of closeness on her own terms. So be gentle with yourself. Celebrate the tiny wins. Forgive the moments you slip back into old habits, because healing isn't linear. It's a spiral, returning again and again to the same truth, each time with more grace. And that truth is this: you belong here, in your body, in your desire, in the quiet after. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait to be ready. Just begin, because the most powerful version of you isn't somewhere in the future. She's already here, waiting for you to stop hiding and start staying. You're not alone. Join the women who stay. And finally, know this: you are not alone. Thousands of women just like you are learning to reclaim this quiet power. Widows rediscovering their sensuality. Mothers reconnecting with their partners. Young women refusing to shrink after closeness. All of them choosing again and again to stay. And now you're one of them. If this resonated, if it stirred something in you, you belong here. So if you're ready to step into this new way of being, I invite you to tap like. It tells YouTube this matters. Subscribe so you never miss a moment of this journey. Comment, I'm staying below, not for me, but for yourself. A quiet promise to the woman you're becoming. And if you feel moved, share your story. Not the polished version, the real one. I've always pulled away, but I'm ready to try. I'm 42 and just learned this for the first time. This made me cry. I needed to hear it. Your words might be the lifeline someone else needs. Because this isn't just a video, it's a sisterhood of women choosing presence over performance, wholeness over hiding, and love that doesn't require them to disappear. So welcome, you're seen, you're safe, and you're already enough. Now go gently, stay a little longer, and trust that the woman who lingers in her truth is the one the world, and the ones who love her, will never forget